Good afternoon and welcome to the Route 7 BRT or Bus Rapid Transit Plan Amendment public meeting. This is the presentation that we're giving. I am Mike Garcia and I'll be your facilitator today. This is the first of excuse me, two public meetings, with the other being held virtually tomorrow evening at 6:30. The purpose of this meeting is to go over changes to the comprehensive plan that staff is recommending to the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. Sean, who is our project coordinator, will go into a brief background of the study where a recommendation was made for the alignment and station locations that are part of this plan amendment. We want to hear any comments you have, and if there are details that are more relevant for the next steps or phases in the project, we will factor that in to the extent it aligns with the pending Board of Supervisors approval. So with that said, I just want to get a few housekeeping out of the way. For those who are not familiar with Teams, we can go over how to raise and lower your hand at the conclusion of the presentation. Generally, it's the hand raise function. It's either at the top of your screen or at the bottom of your screen, depending on which Teams you have available to you. The chat feature is enabled. Please use it if you have any questions or clarification you need during the presentation. I'm happy to keep a running tab of all the comments or questions that we have putting in the chat. We will address the questions, and the comments we'll just kind of have as thank you for anything that you do say. So with that, I want to go ahead and kind of recognize the staff that are available for you this afternoon. So with me, I have Sean Schweitzer, who is the project lead and the person you'll be hearing from today. Tom Burke is our host and will be working in the background to help with any technical needs that you have. And then Jeff Herman is our division chief of the site analysis and transportation planning section where this project is being housed. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Sean.
Sounds good. Thanks. I'll share my screen with the presentation. So bear with me for a second. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Yes.
Yes, you can see.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Sean Schweitzer. I'm the project lead for the county's Route 7 Bus Rapid Transit study. And today I'll be going over the Route 7 BRT or Bus Rapid Transit Plan Amendment. So a little bit of the agenda. I'll touch on the background of the Route 7 BRT project, then go into the Route 7 BRT Plan Amendment and what the county is recommending. Then I'll go into next steps of the project, and then I'll take any questions anyone might have at the end. So getting into the background, I'll first touch upon the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission's Envision Route 7 Route 7 study. They're currently coordinating with Arlington County, Fairfax County, City of Alexandria, City of Falls Church, NVTC, DRPT, WMATA, and VDOT. In the previous phases, they identified BRT as the preferred alternative from the Mark Center all the way down in Alexandria to Tyson's. They also recommended dedicated bus lanes in Tyson's, as well as between Seven Corners and Bailey's Crossroads. The next phase, or the current phase that NVTC is currently in with their study, is looking at transportation analysis. So they're incorporating what Fairfax County has done previously in our Route 7 BRT study into their first phase of their phase 4 study, which is looking at transportation analysis from the Tyson's area all the way to just north of Seven Corners. And you can see this is kind of the alignment that they're looking at right now for the Route 7 BRT project or study. So jumping into the background of Fairfax County's Route 7 BRT study and efforts. So back in fall of 2018, Fairfax County commenced their Route 7 BRT study. It was to get a better understanding as to how Route 7 or the BRT would work in the Tyson's area. So we looked at 9 preliminary alternatives and culled that down to 3 alternatives to be evaluated further. So in the picture to the right, you can kind of see down here from Route 7 and I-66 interchange all the way up to International Drive. All 3 of the alternatives that we were looking at shared the same corridor or the same alignment. And then from international is where the three alternatives kind of separated or deviated. So alternative one, as you can see, is represented in blue, continues on International Drive and goes around Spring Hill Road and Tyco Road. Alternative two, that was the shortest, and it just went up International and terminated at the Tysons Corner Metro Rail Station. And then alternative three, which closely resembles the NBTC's Vision Route 7 study, continued on Route 7, going on Tyco Road and then terminating at the West Park Transit Station, and then ultimately coming back down. So through our analysis and our public meetings, it was determined that alternative one, which is in blue, was the preferred alternative. And then ultimately we took it to the board in the summer or July 27th of 2021, where the board endorsed it. So looking a little bit more into the Route 7 BRT plan amendment and the preferred alternative that was ultimately endorsed. You can see to the right in this picture, we're looking at the Route 7 BRT operating in mixed traffic here in the West Falls Church area in the southeast. And the termination point for this, the southern portion would be at the West Falls Church Metro Rail Station, where then it would continue on Route 7, take a right on from Haycock onto Route 7 westbound and stop at Chestnut Street and Route 7 right here. And then right past the I-66 interchange, probably around Idlewood and in Route 7, the BRT would transition into medium running BRT, which is highlighted in the purple. The next stop would be Patterson Road Station and Route 7. The next one after that would be George Marshall Station and Route 7. And then crossing over the Beltway, we get to Fashion Boulevard Station or Route 7, and then turning onto International Drive, still in median running BRT, would stop at Fletcher Street Station, International Drive, before continuing north to the Greensboro International Station and International Drive. And then Lincoln Station and International is where the BRT would make its transition from median running BRT into mixed traffic, and that's to make that left on Spring Hill Road. And then ultimately transition into BAT lanes or business access transit lanes, or we usually just call it, for more simple terms, bus and turn lanes, which is shown in the solid red line. Then it would terminate at the Spring Hill Metro Rail Station, and then ultimately continue onto Tyco Road in BAT lanes, and then ultimately back down, transitioning back into medium running BRT, International Drive, then to Route 7. So a little bit more on the Route 7 BRT plan amendment. To the right is the graphic of the current Fairfax County Transportation Plan map. So breaking this down into sections along Route 7. So from Route 7, from Haycock Road along Route 7 to the Beltway or 495, the current transportation plan recommends widening from 4 to 6 lanes. It's currently 4 lanes right now. And we're recommending those 2 new lanes would be utilized for exclusive medium running BRT. And then from the Beltway to International Drive, we're recommending, or the current comp plan recommends, to widen from 6 to 8 lanes. And we're recommending to include those 2 new lanes for exclusive medium running BRT. And then as we get to International Drive, from Route 7 to Lincoln Circle, we're proposing to repurpose 2 existing lanes to include exclusive medium running BRT. So take 2 of those lanes and repurpose them for BRT. And then for Spring Hill Road and Tyco Road, looking at BAT lanes or business access and transit lanes. For Spring Hill Road westbound, we're looking at on the northern side doing a BAT lane, and then on Tyco Road from Route 7 to Spring Hill, looking at a BAT lane on the southern portion of Tyco Road. So getting into kind of the station locations and configurations, I'll start again in the southeastern portion of West Falls Church area. So as you can see, we are looking at having the BRT as it comes down eastbound on Route 7. We are looking at utilizing the Route 7 flyover ramp, which is depicted in yellow right here. So the bus would take the flyover ramp to get direct access to the West Falls Church Metro Rail Station right here, where then we are looking at it ultimately getting onto Haycock Road and then making a right going westbound on Route 7, and then stopping at Chestnut Street and Route 7 right here. So again, this would all be in mixed traffic for the West Falls Church area. The next station would be Route 7 and Patterson Drive Station. As you see, this would be where this portion would be in median running BRT. So as you can see, we have the station platforms staggered, and that's to help reduce the right-of-way impacts to the corridor. To the right, you have the Trader Joe's, and then to the south, kind of south here, you have the Idlewood Shopping Center. So that would be serviced by this station location. Then continue westbound on Route 7. The next station would be Route 7 and George C. Marshall Drive. Again, it's the BRT is operating in median running traffic, exclusive. And again, you can see the station platforms are staggered to minimize right-of-way needs and impact. This would service the George C. Marshall High School, as well as the new planned development for townhouses on the northern side right here. And crossing over the Beltway, going westbound, the next station would be Fashion Boulevard Station and Route 7. This would service the Tyson's Corner Mall. Again, we're still in median running BRT, and again, the station platforms are staggered. Turning on to International Drive in median running BRT, again, the station platforms are staggered, and this location would service the Tyson's Corner Mall as well. And we're also looking at a possible future transfer point from the Gallows Road Enhanced Transit System, which the county is currently looking at. So this would kind of act as a transfer point as well. The next station is International Drive and Greensboro Drive Station. This would service the Tyson's Galleria Mall. Again, the station platforms are staggered, and also the BRT is operating in median running BRT as well right here. The next station is International Drive and Lincoln Drive. Again, it's in median running BRT right here, and the station platforms are staggered. This station location would service the Rotunda condominiums and other condo apartments around the area over here to the right. Again, this is where this station acts as a transition point from median running to mixed traffic. And again, that's to help the BRT take that left at Spring Hill Road. So the last station, the termination point in the northern part of the corridor is Spring Hill Metro Rail Station. As the bus comes along Spring Hill Road in Bat Lanes, the BRT would stop at the existing infrastructure that's currently there for local bus services at the Spring Hill Metro Rail Station. And this would be the termination point for the BRT. So kind of doing a little recap of the proposed changes the county is recommending for the Route 7 BRT plan amendment. So the segments that we're looking at for 2 exclusive lanes for BRT would be Route 7, convert 2 planned lanes from general purpose to BRT. And then on international, we would convert 2 existing general purpose lanes to exclusive median running BRT. All the other segments along the corridor, which would be in bat lanes or business access and turn lanes, or in mixed traffic, We will also be looking to recommend defining the BRT route from West Falls Church Station to Tyson's along Route 7 and International Drive. And then also recommending to put in the potential station locations along the BRT corridor. Getting into some of the community engagement that we've previously done and are currently doing right now. Back in March of 2020, we held a public meeting at George C. Marshall High School. And this was in the beginning of the Route 7 BRT study, where we were looking at the different alternatives. We came to the public to get feedback on the measures of effectiveness to use to compare the alternatives that we were looking at, and to just get general feedback on what the community was thinking for alignment, and then ultimately using that information or incorporating that information into our study. Again, we reached back out to the community or public in March of 2021. This is when we had the 3 alternatives analysis completed, and we presented those alternatives to the public, and we garnered feedback from them and had a survey of the 3 different routes, as well as the proposed station locations of those routes, and then ultimately came to pick the preferred alignment, which was alternative 1 along International Drive. And now we're currently looking, coming to the public to kind of inform them on the Route 7 BRT plan amendment, and kind of explain the proposed changes that we're recommending for the comprehensive plan moving forward. And we also have another meeting, which will be the same presentation that I'm conducting right now tomorrow evening at 6:30. So next steps, FCDOT is currently working on the next phase of the Route 7 BRT project. This next effort is looking at right-of-way needs along the corridor, looking at the impacts and ways we can mitigate some of the right-of-way needs along the corridor, and to get an understanding on what this would look like, as well as look at proposed station locations and configurations and how that would, we're looking at 10% concepts right now, moving forward to get a better understanding of that. And we're hoping to complete that next effort by summer of next year. Switching back to the Route 7 BRT plan amendment, we are planning to take this plan amendment to the Planning Commission June 21st of this year, and then ultimately to the Board of Supervisors in July of this year, July 25th. And so now I will open it up to any comments or questions anyone might have regarding the Route 7 BRT plan amendment.
All right, thank you, Sean. So we had a couple come in during the chat, and just wanted to kind of take them in the order in which they came. So I'm just making a quick change here. One moment. Okay. The first question, Sean, it goes, well, there's a few, so we'll take them in order. So the first question: has the West Falls Church Metro stop always been in the plan, or is that something new? So you might want to go back to that slide
Yeah.
that shows it, maybe kind of show how it might work, and then you can answer that question.
So our current or recent study, or the previous Route 7 BRT study, looked at from I-66 all the way up to Tyson's. But when we took it to the board to get endorsed, we were thinking that we needed to have a termination point in the southeastern area. And we're looking at moving the northern portion of the entire Route 7 BRT system, further than the southern portion as of right now. So we're kind of looking at how the bus would terminate and then also turn around to utilize this portion of Route 7 going into Tyson's. So we put that in the Route 7 BRT board item to kind of look at that and figure out a termination point moving forward in the West Falls Church area. And so we're kind of looking at different alternatives, interim alternatives, to see how we can kind of close this or complete this system in the northern portion. So we are planning to take this and include this into the plan amendment in order to, have this portion self-sufficient. So I don't know if that answered the question.
I believe it did. We added it as part of the plan amendment, the
Yeah,
terminus in the West Falls Church Station area. So, because we just
that's
needed the
perfect.
place to terminate and move the bus around to turn it back north again. Um, okay, so real quick for anyone who is also on the meeting, you can raise your hand if you like. It's the hand raise feature at the top of the screen, or for some people, it's floating down at the bottom. So you can always use that if you want to raise your hand and ask a question. I'll take them off the chat, but I just want to make sure everyone who wants to kind of verbally state something they can. The other thing you can also do, just for anyone who's not familiar with Teams, you can always hit your control button and then you can zoom in using the mouse scroll button, and that'll help you kind of zoom in a particular area of the presentation if you want to kind of get a closer look. Sometimes if it looks too far out, you can do that and kind of zoom in a little bit. So with that, Sean, we're gonna go to the next question, and it says, if you can go to slide 9. So, and I'll answer this question just for,
Oh,
so that way it says, will those townhomes at the slide 9 example be permitted to reduce parking requirements because of the BRT line? Also, the first part of that question is, no, they won't be able to reduce the parking requirements if they are tied to an approval of a site plan or a zoning application. They still have to kind of adhere to that. They can come in and file a parking reduction plan with the county if they would like to reduce their parking requirement. So that is something they can do. And then the next part of that question is, in general, will places be able to reduce the required parking mandates to make it easier to be close to the bus stations? So yes, they can actually file parking reductions, and we would anticipate and expect for them to do that because they are close proximity to a transit line, and the county would encourage them to reduce parking to take advantage of the transit system that's being provided in nearby proximity. So we'd encourage it. We expect it for any sort of future applications that come in, and for any applications that want to kind of modernize themselves and kind of look to reduce parking because they're oversupplied. We definitely encourage that as well. The next one, Sean, is this person. They missed the station that will be after the Route 7 and George C. Marshall Drive station. What was that location again?
it's the Fashion Boulevard and Route 7. Are we going westbound? You said after
Yes,
Beltway.
after.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be Fashion Boulevard Station and Route 7.
Okay. And also, there is a handy map on the project website where you all gained access to join the meeting. So it shows you each station, and it labels them nice and bold as well. So if you don't have, if you want to remember them later, that's a good place to go and get them from. All right. The next question is, I see that there are future streets planned. Is there coordination between the land use and zoning and this transit plan? I'll stop there.
Uh, Maybe, so we looked at the land use forecasts when we were doing the Route 7 BRT study to kind of understand, where, future, land use, uh, projects would be and where the demographics and the, employment areas would be. So we kind of looked at them and, took that information to kind of help, steer us where we were looking at the proposed station locations. Again, we'll probably look a little bit more further as more information comes online, and things change, especially with the pandemic that changed a lot of things. But the way we came to pick these proposed station locations was through demographics and future land use forecasts.
Yes, thank you, Sean. I also say I think it does take into account the future grid of streets that's shown in the Tyson's plan, as well
Mhm.
as the new streets being proposed in the West Falls Church area. So all
Yes.
that's being factored in terms of where station locations are being sited and how the alignment is being planned. So, the second part of that question, Sean, the low density and large parking lots that Fairfax has so much of discourage the use of transit and make it unpleasant to be a pedestrian. before and after using the BRT. Will any of that be addressed at the same time?
So are we talking about like pet facilities, or are we talking about the removal of, or the parking issue, too
I,
much parking?
I think it's the large parking lots that make it an issue, and then the low density. With low density, it's just something that has to be addressed through land use and kind of redevelopment as it comes along. But they're more referring to the large parking lots that discourage walking and biking, I think. Will that be addressed at this time?
We'll look at that, and as Tyson's develops, I think that a lot of that underutilized parking will be changed or redeveloped into more efficient uses, where we're looking at. I know that Tyson's has their guidelines and requirements for parking, but I know that the county has done a lot to kind of minimize or negate too much underutilized parking structures and needs. So hopefully, as we move forward, that new development will get rid of that underutilized parking moving forward. So
Yes, I believe the project hopefully incentivize redevelopment of the areas to get closer to the stations, which is what the intent of this is, and also to kind of provide a supporting transit mode that is there for the future land uses within Tysons that are expected to be relatively dense. All right, Sean, the next one. This looks like a really good plan that will take advantage of changing land uses to support more walking and biking trips and mixed use development. I like that the county is not going to add new general purpose land on Route 7. Questions. What is the timeline for implementation? I'll start there.
so implementation, we're still in the kind of infancy stages. We're kind of trying to understand how this would, look, what the right of way needs or impacts would be. So for implementation, we again, we don't really have any funding right now for implementation of it. So right now we're kind of just looking at more of concepts and designs, and we'll ultimately get there as we move forward. But we don't have set target of when this the Route 7 VRT would be implemented, especially this northern portion. So but we are currently trying to move it along and get to that stage of this project.
And if you're looking for a timeline for implementation after the Route 1 BRT
Yeah.
alignment is up and running, that's our first one. Two, are there other incremental shorter term upgrades to bus service in this corridor that the county could introduce to start boosting ridership and change habits in the Tysons Falls Church area?
I know that there are, current bus routes through Metrobus, as well as some kind of some local Fairfax connector buses that service the area. I don't know if they specifically go the route that we're showing, and also with BRT you kind of get an advantage with time saved with its own designated lanes. But I know that the county is looking at the Tyson circulator routes and revising them. We've done a study in the past to look at what they would look like in the future. So we've kind of utilized that study to kind of incorporate into the alternatives that we were looking at, so that they kind of meshed well. So I would say that for right now, Metrobus probably has a very similar line that kind of looks at it. But again, with the added, mitigations such as, median running exclusive BRT lanes, I think that would really be a game changer. Just because this corridor gets so congested at the AM and PM peak hours that, sometimes, bus isn't the most efficient or fastest way. So with, median running BRT, implemented, I think that would really change the way people think about using the bus in this area.
Okay, thank you, Sean. The next question says, I missed the very beginning. Is the plan for these BRT lines to replace or supplement existing bus lines? And will the stations be be paid before boarding?
So this isn't to, take away from the other bus services. This is, an interim portion that we're looking at to kind of implement to kind of be the, catalyst for the rest of the Route 7 corridor or Route 7 BRT corridor. Um, so we would like to kind of get this, this portion online. And ultimately, as we start implementing this down the road, I think we would then look at existing bus services and making sure that they kind of mesh well with the BRT, so there isn't kind of any competition between the BRT route um, against any kind of local bus service routes. So we probably try to make sure that they would um, you know help each other or benefit each other in the future.
And then the second part of that question, Sean, was will the stations be paid before boarding?
Yes, they would be paid before boarding. So it would help to make it more efficient that the bus is not waiting and sitting there at the station locations or the station platforms. Um, so you would pay before. I think there usually would be, especially with BRT, there's usually kiosks that you can pay before you board, which makes it a more smooth transition for passengers.
And with this system, it's expecting that you can get on the bus and get off the bus at all doors and not just kind of get on the bus at the front door, which is why you pay before boarding. And it'll be near level boarding, which is another feature of BRT to make sure that it's just easier so you don't have to deploy any ramps to kind of get from the bus and to the platform. So those are kind of things that help people get on and off to reduce what we call the dwell time, which is the amount of time the bus sits at the station waiting for people to get on and off. So all those enhancements should hopefully help the bus kind of pick up and make it faster than hopefully driving in the car. Okay, the next question, Sean. I'm glad to see any new lanes will be dedicated for bus lanes and not new travel lanes. Will there be improvements to biking and walking along and across Route 7 into the BRT stations?
Yes, so we're sorry, we're currently looking at the right of way concepts, and we're incorporating the bike and ped facilities uh, as we're looking at the right of way constraints and needs. We're also looking at intersections where we can minimize the crossing time and also just the width of the intersections, so it's safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. Um, so we are taking that into consideration in this next effort and hoping to look at slip rights along the corridor as well. Those are kind of a safety issue with bikers and pedestrians as well. So we're looking in this next effort to see where we can incorporate those mitigations and remedy them as we move forward. So um, we are currently looking at that and bike ped facilities.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I don't see any more questions in the chat at the moment, and I didn't know if anybody wanted to also raise their hand to ask a question or make a comment. You're free to do so. If you do, just raise your hand, and I will I'll have Tom enable your microphone, and we can go that route. If not, Sean, can you go to the last page, please, of the presentation? So this is Sean's contact information for anyone who has a question about what they heard here today or want to follow up with a particular comment. Please email him. He is also the project manager for the next stage of the Bus Rapid Transit Route 7 alignment. As he mentioned, the one we're looking at the next steps in terms of right of way and cost estimates for this portion of the line. So with that, I'll give it another moment to see if anybody kind of has anything they want to add in. We will be posting the recording of this meeting as well as the presentation to the project page, which is how you access the meeting today. So there'll be a link at the bottom for it. And then we also have another meeting tomorrow night, so at 6:30. So that way we can kind of do this again for anyone who's unable to attend. So if you know people who are interested and want to get the information, please tell them about the meeting tomorrow. Okay, I have another question. Was there an order or preference when determining impact to the right-of-way? Personal vehicles take up a lot of space for low throughput. How much effort was given to prioritize them, or was transit and pedestrian given preference?
Um, so we did look at, making sure when we did the Route 7 BRT study, we were looking at throughput. We also were looking at, pedestrian crossing times as well. So we ultimately wanted to make sure the alternative that we went with didn't, have a, severe impact on traffic congestion in Tyson's, but also, didn't, negate any bike ped facilities, improvements. We also made sure that, we were looking at um, bike ped safety. With median running BRT, we were looking at it would be faster or um, more safe or safer for pedestrians getting off the BRT so that they didn't have to cross all lanes of traffic if they want to get to the other side. Medium running BRT, station platform areas also offer, pedestrian refuge. So if they needed to stop or what have you, they can at these different station locations. Um, and we also, are looking at that as we move forward to incorporate and make it safer and kind of um, you know emphasize bike ped facilities and as we continue with the BRT. So we're looking at both you know at the same time. I don't know if that really helps.
It does. Thank you, Sean. I will say we are cognizant of the right-of-way impact. So as Sean goes through the next refinement of this, we'll try to make sure we keep right-of-way down as much as we can. That also helps kind of make it a system that is more people focused, so that we still recognize that these the streets need to be carrying and allow for vehicle traffic. So that will happen, but we're going to emphasize a lot the pedestrian and the bicycle kind of connectivity to the stations, as well as helping the bus rapid transit get up and down the corridor. All right, I'll wait just another minute, see if anything comes in.
So if you do have any questions later on, again, you can contact me by email, phone, and also on the Route 7 BRT webpage. There's a link at the or a box at the bottom. I think it's red that you can, type in something if you have any questions or comments.
All right. And I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today during your lunch hour. We really appreciate it. Good questions, good comments. We always appreciate hearing from the public. Again, this isn't the end of it. We have, Sean, when are comments open till?
I believe July 10th.
Thank you.
So
So at that point, we'll kind of close the comment period down, at least for this portion, the plan amendment portion of the Route 7 BRT. But the project website is up, and Sean will continue to take in any sort of feedback that comes in as it's relevant to kind of the next stages. Um, but again, please give us your feedback as you can. We have Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors meetings already scheduled, and those are kind of taking place in the next month. And so thank you all very much for joining. And with that, have a good rest of the day. All right, I'm going to stop recording now.